When the last Western Roman emperor was deposed in 476 CE, this event was less a dramatic collapse than a confirmation of changes long underway. On the territory of the former Western Roman Empire, new kingdoms emerged: the Franks in Gaul, the Visigoths in Spain, and the Vandals in Africa. These new states were not merely barbarian tribal territories, but complex political entities. They adopted Roman administrative structures, minted their own coins, and issued written laws. Germanic kings ruled over mixed populations of Romans and Germans. The new political map of Europe was a mosaic of diverse domains. The Eastern Roman Empire continued to exist and exerted influence on the West. However, the future belonged to the new Romano-Germanic blended kingdoms. The fusion of Roman and Germanic cultures occurred on many levels. In architecture, new forms emerged, combining Roman techniques with Germanic stylistic elements. Art developed a distinctive character, blending classical motifs with Germanic ornamentation. Latin remained the language of administration, but evolved differently across regions. Its mingling with Germanic dialects gave rise to the precursors of Romance languages. Vernacular Latin increasingly took on local characteristics. The religious transition was particularly notable. Catholic Christianity triumphed over the Arian beliefs of the Germans. The Church became the primary bearer of culture and preserved many elements of classical education. Warfare underwent significant changes. The heavy Roman infantry gave way to mobile cavalry armies. Germanic kings no longer maintained standing armies, relying instead on militias of their warriors. Fortification adapted to new conditions. Instead of sprawling Roman city walls, compact castles and fortified hilltop settlements were built. Military power concentrated in the hands of a warrior aristocracy. This evolution laid the foundation for medieval knighthood, the link between martial duty and landownership, characteristic of feudalism, originated in this transitional period. The end of Roman administration brought profound economic changes. International trade declined, and regional economic cycles gained prominence. The monetary economy partially gave way to a barter system. Cities lost their central role, with many shrinking or being abandoned. Economic life shifted to larger states that operated almost autonomously. A new social structure emerged, where personal ties became more important than state institutions. Germanic settlers introduced new agricultural technologies, such as the three-field system and the heavy plough. Society became more rural, but not primitive. Monasteries preserved and transmitted classical knowledge, with monks copying Roman texts and maintaining elements of classical education. At the same time, new literary forms emerged, blending Roman and Germanic traditions. Germanic peoples developed their own written cultures. The Gothic translation of the Bible by Ulfilas was only the beginning. Legal codes were written, and chronicles appeared. A new intellectual culture arose, neither purely Roman or purely Germanic. The Great Migration of peoples sparked a cultural exchange that shaped Europe's spiritual character for centuries. The synthesis of diverse traditions became a defining feature of European culture. The legacy of the Great Migration remains alive today. The political boundaries formed then still influence Europe's map. The languages born from this blending are spoken today. Cultural traditions persist in altered forms. The Great Migration was not destruction, but transformation. It marked the transition from the ancient world to the medieval. What appeared as collapse was, in reality, a time of creation and change. The chief legacy of this era may lie in the understanding that cultural change and integration are possible. The history of the Great Migration shows how the clash of different cultures can give birth to something new and enduring.